Marriage has always been a weapon in Westeros, a tool to claim land, shape alliances, and rewrite dynasties. But few unions would have changed the political map more dramatically than this one: Sansa Stark marrying Petyr Baelish. Because if this alliance ever became reality, it wouldn't have been a love story. It would have been the most dangerous partnership the North had seen since the Age of Heroes. And the world that followed would look nothing like the Westeros we know. This is the alternate history of what would happen if Sansa Stark married Littlefinger. Sansa once learned a valuable lesson from him. When you know what a man wants, you know who he is. But imagine she'd turned that lesson back on its teacher. Imagine she accepted his offer. Suddenly, the question isn't what would change, it's what wouldn't. To understand the impact, we have to look at the two very different weapons these characters wielded. Sansa Stark, heir to Winterfell, shaped by trauma, sharpened by survival. A young woman who learned politics from Cersei, strategy from Tyrion, and deception from Littlefinger himself. Every part of her story forged her into someone far more dangerous than she appeared. Littlefinger, on the other hand, climbed with pure ambition. No armies, no noble birth, just whispers, manipulation, and a talent for making chaos work for him. Separately, each could shift the world around them. Together, they could have become something Westeros had never seen. A power couple built not on love, but on leverage. But this alliance would hinge on one question: who is controlling whom? If Sansa accepted Littlefinger's proposal in the Vale, the political balance shifts instantly. The North gains the Vale gains the North. Two massive regions united under one banner. Sansa becomes the legitimate future of the North. Littlefinger becomes its protector, at least in name, and every lord south of the Neck feels the tremor. The Lannisters lose their northern influence. The Boltons become isolated. The Tyrells grow suspicious, and Cersei sees a girl she once dismissed becoming a threat she can't ignore. This is the moment where history splits. The new question becomes, who outplays whom inside this marriage? Littlefinger believes he finally has everything he's chased: the North, the Vale, and access to the Iron Throne through Sansa. But this is not the same girl he manipulated years before. Sansa has learned his tricks, his lies, his ambition, and she knows he wants more than just alliances. Their marriage becomes a silent war. Every dinner is a negotiation, every conversation a disguised power struggle, every whispered rumor a test of loyalty. Littlefinger thinks he's shaping her, but Sansa is learning how to unmake him. With their alliance secure, the war for Winterfell changes completely. The Battle of the Bastards never happens the way we know it. Ramsay Bolton is no longer fighting a desperate Stark rebellion. He's facing the combined might of the North, the Vale, and the Riverlands, influenced by Baelish. Ramsay loses before the first charge. Winterfell returns to Sansa, not as a battlefield miracle, but as an inevitable outcome of political force. Jon Snow's desperate gamble for the North never becomes necessary. In this timeline, Sansa controls Winterfell by diplomacy, not bloodshed, and Littlefinger stands beside her, tightening his grip on the future. But each victory he gains increases her power too. The Northern Lords begin to see Sansa not just as a survivor, but as a leader. With Winterfell restored, Littlefinger shifts his gaze southward. His lifelong dream has never changed. He wants the Iron Throne, but Sansa has seen what Southern politics truly are. She doesn't want to rule the Seven Kingdoms. She wants to protect the North from them. This is the fracture line of their marriage. Littlefinger pushes for conquest. Sansa pushes for stability. Two visions of the future, diverging in opposite directions. And as their influence grows, Cersei begins to understand the danger. A Stark-Baelish alliance threatens every thread of the Lannister dynasty. Westeros becomes a world divided into two rising powers. The South under Cersei, the North Vale alliance under Sansa. The stage is set for a collision. But Littlefinger has one fatal flaw. He always believes he is the smartest person in the room. What he fails to see is that Sansa is no longer the frightened girl he once manipulated. She has learned from monsters, kings and queens, and she now understands exactly how he thinks. The moment Arya returns, the moment Bran returns, Littlefinger's lies begin to crack. Sansa holds all the pieces. She knows the truth, and for the first time in her life, she has the power to act on it. The trial comes sooner in this timeline. The verdict hits harder. Littlefinger falls not to chaos, but to the very woman he tried to mold. His downfall becomes Sansa's final step out of the shadows, and the world that emerges afterwards looks nothing like the Westeros we know. Winterfell stabilizes under Sansa's leadership. The Vale remains loyal through long-standing alliances. The North becomes a political powerhouse, not through warfare, but through strategy. With Littlefinger gone, Sansa's rule transforms into something rare, a northern dynasty rooted in caution, wisdom, and learned resilience. She doesn't just survive the Game of Thrones, she beats it. Because in this alternate history, Sansa Stark doesn't remain a pawn. She becomes the quiet architect of a new Westeros. A world where her marriage to Littlefinger wasn't the beginning of her downfall, but the beginning of her rise.